Hello, this is Sean Servas from FEMA headquarters. Welcome to Module 1, Introduction to FEMA GO. This module will focus on the new FEMA GO grants management system that will be used for submitting applications under the new Building Resilient Infrastructures and Communities Grant Program, as well as the Flood Mitigation Assistance Grant Program. This is the first of 6 web conferences. The other modules will cover organization management, sub-application review, creating an application, attaching and ranking sub-applications to the grant application, and completing and submitting an application for review by FEMA. At the end of this module, you'll be able to explain the purpose of FEMA GO, explain the purpose of the Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities Grant Program, describe the categories of FEMA GO users, explain the purpose of an application, explain the BRIC sub-application review process. So now we're ready to start Module 1. We're going to get into FEMA GO and go over what the application process looks like for applying to the Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities Grant Program, as well as the Flood Mitigation Assistance Grant Program. Those are the 2 non-disaster grant programs for FEMA's Hazard Mitigation Assistance Division. FEMA GO is short for FEMA Grants Outcomes. It is FEMA's new platform for submitting, approving, and managing FEMA grants. In the coming years, FEMA GO will replace Mitigation e-grants and the other legacy grants management systems used by hazard mitigation assistance, such as the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, which uses NEMIS. So from 2020 application cycle going forward, we'll use FEMA GO for BRIC and FMA. And for 2019 and prior, we'll continue to use the Mitigation e-grant system, but we won't be taking any new applications in the legacy e-grant system. You will use FEMA GO to create and submit sub-applications and applications. If a sub-application attached to your application is selected for award, you will also use FEMA GO to submit your quarterly performance reports and financial reports. Ultimately, you will use it to submit your final closeout report. If you're familiar with working in the pre-disaster mitigation and flood mitigation assistance grant programs in previous years, then you'll feel right at home. So let's look at FEMA GO. Right now, there is only one hazard mitigation assistance sub-application. And what we're going to do is open up FEMA GO and look at the grant applicant homepage. So this is the grant applicant homepage. What you will see as a direct grant recipient when you log into FEMA GO after you've been assigned roles to our hazard mitigation assistance grant programs. You'll notice there are grant application links here on the right. They call these cards. There's the flood mitigation assistance grant application. And if we scroll down, there's also the Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities grant application, as well as the hazard mitigation sub-application. Sub-applications are program agnostic until they're attached to the grant application. Our non-disaster grants follow a 2-step process where you create sub-applications, perhaps one or more, and you attach those to the grant application. So what is the BRIC grant program? There are 3 main hazard mitigation grant programs, the Hazard Mitigation Assistance Division, as I mentioned. Flood Mitigation Assistance, Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, and now the Building Resilient Infrastructures and Communities Program. It's important to remember that BRIC and FMA are non-disaster grant programs, while the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program is a post-disaster grant program. The BRIC program is replacing the Pre-Disaster Mitigation Grant Program, and it came about thanks to amendments made to the Stafford Act and the new Disaster Reinvestment and Recovery Act. BRIC is designed to support states, local communities, tribes, and territories as they undertake hazard mitigation projects to reduce the risks they face from disasters and natural hazards. Through BRIC, FEMA is looking to fund projects that demonstrate innovative approaches to partnerships and/or project design. For example, an innovative project may bring multiple funding sources or in-kind resources from a range of private and public sector stakeholders, or offer multiple benefits to a community in addition to the benefit of risk reduction. And as I mentioned before, since BRIC is a new grant program, we're going to be talking about it a little bit more than flood mitigation assistance. FEMA provides funding to states, federally recognized Indian tribes, and territories through the different mitigation grant programs. States, tribes, or territories create grant applications to apply for these funds using FEMA GO, and they're referred to as applicants. If you're an eligible entity to be a direct grant recipient to FEMA, we'll call those groups of individuals applicants, or we'll call those entities applicants. And FEMA Go categorizes them as an organization. Local communities, states, tribes, and territories also create proposals or sub-applications for their mitigation projects in FEMA Go. These entities are referred to as sub-applicants. Applicants can also create sub-applications to apply for funding for statewide mitigation activities. So sub-applicants generally refer to local municipalities, so your counties or your cities or your planning districts within a state. And they enter into a, a relationship with the statewide organization, and that makes them sub-organizations. So we refer to the subrecipients or the sub-applicants here in the FEMA Go system as sub-organizations. Let's look at the different types of sub-applications available in FEMA Go. Hazard mitigation assistance non-disaster sub-applications are program agnostic, as I mentioned before, until they are attached to a BRIC or flood mitigation assistance grant application. So if you're creating a sub-application, you're just going to have the option for a project, plan, project scoping, or technical assistance, which isn't displayed here because it only applies to a small subset of the flood mitigation assistance grant program. So you don't have an FMA sub-application or a BRIC sub-application. You just have your project or plan sub-application, and then it's attached to either the BRIC or FMA grant application. Applicants can submit plan, project, and project scoping sub-applications, and they can also submit management cost sub-applications to cover the cost of managing all their subawards. So there's two different types of management costs. There's the grant applicant management costs, which in the 2020 notice of funding opportunity was 10%, and that 10% is covered under a separate sub-application. So you fill out a separate management cost sub-application specifically for that amount that's listed in the notice of funding opportunity. Subrecipient management costs are a different category filled out by the subrecipient, and they add those as a line item in their budget. And they're also those amounts are determined by the notice of funding opportunity. One thing to point out, when you do submit a sub-application, there's a message that says, congratulations, your sub-application has been submitted to the recipient. Of course, that doesn't mean that it has been submitted to FEMA. Remember that two-step process of the sub-application being attached to the grant application and the whole package being sent to FEMA. Applicants bundle one or more sub-applications together to create an application for federal funding through a hazard mitigation assistance grant program like BRIC or FMA. Applications are like envelopes used to deliver the sub-applications to FEMA for review. So just like it says, I like to think about the grant application as an envelope, and you're filling that envelope with your sub-application if it's just one, or if there's multiple sub-applications, like there would be in the case of a typical state grant application. They would have many sub-applications inside their grant application. It's the applicant's role to review and select which sub-applications to include in the grant application. Applicants don't have to review the sub-applications created by their own organizations, such as the management cost sub-application, because that was already created by the grant applicant, and so it's automatically approved. So if a sub-application is included in an application that ultimately is granted a federal award, the sub-applicant who submitted it receives a sub-award from the applicant. So what that's saying is FEMA gives the money to the grant applicant, which then becomes the grant recipient, such as the state or territory, and then they disseminate the sub-awards to the individual sub-organizations or sub-applicants, which then become sub-recipients at the time of award. For a BRIC sub-application to get funded, it must pass through many steps. Some steps are completed by the sub-applicant, some are completed by the applicant, and some by the FEMA reviewers. And you can refer back to this diagram to see who completes what step of the process. Sub-applicants submit their sub-applications to the applicant. Applicants can also create their own sub-applications. And then applicants review all these sub-applications, and they'll either accept them, reject them, or ask for more information. Applicants then create an application and bundle all those sub-applications that they've approved into their grant application. Then the applicant submits the application to FEMA. FEMA reviews the grant application and all of the sub-applications contained within and makes a determination whether to approve, reject, or ask for more information. If FEMA approves the application and its sub-application, it issues an award to the applicant. Then the applicant issues sub-awards to the sub-applicant. It is important to know where you fit into the flow chart. Do you need to apply to your state? Can you apply directly to FEMA? If you're a tribe, do you know who your FEMA tribal liaison is, or your regional hazard mitigation tribal contact? So let's take a minute to review what we've covered. By now you should be able to explain the purpose of FEMA GO, explain the purpose of the BRIC grant program, as well as the Flood Mitigation Assistance Grant Program, and describe the categories of FEMA GO users. Explain the purpose of an application, and finally explain the BRIC sub-application review process. Here are some resources that will be helpful if you want a refresher on what we've covered today. So if you go to fema.gov/BRIC or fema.gov/HMA, you can get to our BRIC and FMA grant programs, as well as links to these videos and our user manual and the notice of funding opportunity and all that stuff is all readily available online. The BRIC program support materials are also there if you've got questions about technical criteria or those types of things. There's also a FEMA GO user manual for both applicants and sub-applicants. Our FEMA GO help desk is femago@fema.dhs.gov, and they have a toll-free number which you can also call for support. So thank you for joining me for Module 1, and please join me for Module 2, Organization Management. Thank you.